My coworker called me lazy for leaving at 5 p.m., but then the CEO asked why she was still working on tasks I finished in 3 hours. It started with Veronica. She'd been at the company for 8 years and made sure everyone knew it. I was hired 6 months ago as a data analyst, and from day one, she treated me like I was stealing her oxygen. Every morning, she'd arrive at 6:30 a.m. and announce it. She'd stay until 8 p.m. sending emails timestamped 7:47 p.m. just to prove she was still grinding. Meanwhile, I came in at 9 and left at 5, on the dot. Do excellent work during work hours, then go home and actually live. But Veronica saw this as a personal insult. Must be nice, she'd say loudly whenever I packed up. Some of us actually care about our careers. The breaking point came during a team meeting. Our manager, Diane, asked who could take on the quarterly expense report analysis. I volunteered. It was due Friday. Veronica scoffed. That's a 40-hour project minimum. I finished it by Wednesday at 2 p.m. When I submitted it early, Veronica insisted I must have cut corners. Diane checked my work. It was flawless. I'd automated half the process with a script that would save the team 30 hours every quarter. Thursday morning, CEO Bryant Richmond walked through our floor. He never did that. He stopped at my desk. I heard about the expense report, he said. Then he looked at Veronica's desk, where she was buried under spreadsheets, manually color-coding cells. Why are you still doing this manually? He asked her. Her face went red. These reports take time, she stammered. Bryant turned back to me. How long did yours take? About 3 hours for the report, maybe 6 total to write the script. The color drained from Veronica's face. Bryant asked to see all our recent projects. Same quality. My tasks took a fraction of the time. He didn't say anything else, but I saw him talking quietly with Diane afterward. Friday morning, Veronica was at my desk. You're making me look bad on purpose, she hissed. That afternoon, Diane called an emergency meeting. Bryant was there too. He announced efficiency reviews for all departments. Then he looked at Veronica. We value results, not performative busy work. Hours logged don't equal productivity. Over the next month, everything changed. Veronica's manual processes were replaced with my automated ones. Her 60-hour weeks suddenly seemed pointless. She started leaving at 5:30, then 5:15, scrambling to prove she was relevant. Last Monday, Bryant promoted me to senior analyst and assigned me Veronica's highest profile projects. Then he called her into his office. She emerged carrying a box. 2 weeks' notice. On her last day, Veronica spoke to me. You ruined my life. This job was everything. I didn't gloat. Maybe the job wouldn't have been everything if you'd actually gone home sometimes. She left without another word. But here's where it gets complicated. This morning, I found an email in my spam folder from Veronica's personal account, sent at 3 a.m. subject line, "You need to see this." Attached was a folder labeled Diane Financial Records. Inside were expense reports from 3 years ago, all signed off by Diane. These numbers didn't match our current system. Someone had been skimming money, a lot of money. The trail led to accounts I recognized, including one with Bryant's name on it. And the person who'd covered it all up was Veronica. I stared at the screen for 20 minutes. My coffee went cold. The automated script I'd written for expense reports had flagged anomalies in historical data during testing. I'd dismissed them as legacy system errors. Veronica hadn't. She'd known the entire time. The files showed a pattern starting in 2020. Small amounts at first. $3,200 here, $5,800 there. Buried in legitimate expenses, spread across departments. By 2022, they were siphoning $40,000 monthly. The money went through shell vendors, fake consulting fees, inflated supply costs, all approved by Diane, all funneling to accounts connected to Bryant Richmond. Veronica's email had no message, just the files and one line at the bottom. Congratulations on your promotion. You earned it. I printed everything, 300 pages. Then I deleted the email and cleared my trash. At my desk, I opened the company directory and looked up our general counsel, Patricia Wu, 23 years with the firm. I'd never spoken to her. I scheduled a meeting for 2 p.m. citing urgent compliance matter. The morning dragged. I ran my normal reports, attended stand-up, reviewed code. Normal Tuesday things. But the printed documents sat in my bag like a bomb. At lunch, I walked to a print shop 3 blocks away and made 2 more copies. One went in my car. One went in my apartment mailbox. The original stayed with me. Patricia's office was on the executive floor. I'd only been up there twice. Once for new hire orientation. Once for my promotion announcement. The walls had real art. The carpet was thick enough to muffle footsteps. Her assistant waved me in at exactly 2 p.m. Patricia Wu was 62 with silver hair and reading glasses on a chain. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. What's this about? I placed the folder in front of her. I received these anonymously this morning. I think the company has a serious problem. She opened the folder. Her expression didn't change as she flipped through pages. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, she looked up. Where did you get these? Email. From an account I don't recognize. It's already deleted. Do you know who sent them? No. The lie came easily. Veronica's involvement didn't matter right now. What mattered was stopping this before more money disappeared. Patricia closed the folder. These are serious allegations. I'll need to verify everything independently. I have questions, I said. I imagine you do. Should I be worried? The documents show my automated system caught discrepancies. If someone wants to bury this, I'm a loose end. Patricia studied me over her glasses. Are you asking if Bryant Richmond might have you killed over embezzlement? I'm asking if I should be looking for another job. She smiled without humor. Bryant's clever, but he's not violent. However, you're right to be cautious. Don't discuss this with anyone. Not your manager, not your colleagues. No one. I'll handle the investigation personally. I stood to leave. One more thing, Patricia said. Your predecessor in the senior analyst role. Do you know why that position was vacant? Diane said the previous person left for another opportunity. Veronica was supposed to get that promotion. It was promised to her 3 years ago, but she kept finding reasons to delay, kept staying late to finish projects that should have taken hours. Almost like she was stalling. I sat back down. You think she knew then? I think Veronica's been protecting this company for a very long time, and I think it cost her everything. After leaving Patricia's office, I went back to my desk and worked until 5 p.m. Exactly 5 p.m. Then I drove home, checking my mirrors the entire way. My apartment had never felt less safe. I lived alone on the 3rd floor of a converted warehouse. Exposed brick, tall windows, open floor plan. Nowhere to hide. Every shadow looked suspicious. I ordered takeout and ate standing at my kitchen counter. Documents spread across the island. Following the money was like untangling Christmas lights. Each thread led to another shell company, another fake vendor, another inflated invoice. But the pattern was clear. Bryant needed cash for something big enough to risk federal prison. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Don't answer, I told myself. I answered. This is Patricia Wu. I'm calling from my personal cell. Do not reply to anything work-related. Just listen. My preliminary review confirms your documents are legitimate. I've contacted the FBI. There's an agent named Chen who specializes in corporate fraud. She'll reach out to you tomorrow. When she does, you need to tell her everything. Okay. One more thing. Bryant called an emergency executive meeting for Thursday morning. He doesn't know about the investigation yet, but he knows something's wrong. Watch your back. She hung up. I didn't sleep that night. Every noise in the building sounded like footsteps. Every car in the parking lot looked like surveillance. At 3 a.m., I moved my car to a different spot. At 4 a.m., I packed a bag with clothes and essentials. At 5 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went for a run. The city was empty at that hour. Just delivery trucks and the occasional taxi. I ran 8 miles, pushing hard, trying to outrun the anxiety. It didn't work. By the time I got back to my apartment, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely unlock the door. I showered, dressed, and headed to work early. If they were watching, I wanted to seem normal, routine, unsuspecting. The office was nearly empty at 7:30 a.m. Diane's office was dark. Brian's office was dark. My floor had maybe 6 people scattered across cubicles. Veronica's old desk was empty. They'd already hired her replacement. Some kid fresh out of grad school who kept asking me questions about the automated systems. I'd been training him all week. Nice enough guy. Had no idea he'd walked into a crime scene. At 8:45 a.m., Diane arrived. She looked terrible. Hair pulled back, no makeup, coffee in each hand. She saw me and stopped. You're here early. Wanted to get a head start on the quarterly projections. She nodded slowly. Good. Listen, Bryant's called a management meeting for Thursday. All hands. Clear your calendar. Sure. Everything okay? Fine. Everything's fine. She disappeared into her office and closed the door. At 9:30 a.m., my phone buzzed. Another unknown number. This is Special Agent Rachel Torres, FBI. I understand Patricia Wu briefed you about the investigation. I need you to come to our field office this afternoon. I'm supposed to be at work. Take a long lunch. Tell your manager you have a dental emergency. Park in the garage on 5th Street and take the elevator to the 9th floor. Ask for me at reception. Okay. And bring any additional documentation you have. Anything connecting to what you've already provided. There isn't anything else. I just got the one email. Check again. People who send evidence anonymously usually leave breadcrumbs. If Veronica Hutchins wanted you to stop this, she probably gave you everything you need. She knew. Of course, the FBI knew who sent the files. They'd probably trace the email before I even walked into Patricia's office. I wondered what else they knew. Whether Veronica was in witness protection or hiding out in some cheap motel. Whether she was brave or terrified or both. At 11:45 a.m., I told Diane I needed to leave for an emergency dental appointment. She barely looked up from her computer. The drive to the FBI field office took 20 minutes. The garage on 5th Street was underground, fluorescent lit, mostly empty. I parked on level 3 and took the elevator up, clutching my bag with the documents. The 9th floor looked like every government office in every movie. Beige walls, industrial carpet, lots of doors with frosted glass windows. Reception had bulletproof glass and a bored-looking woman who checked my ID twice before buzzing me through. Special Agent Torres was younger than I expected, maybe 35, wearing a navy blazer and jeans. She led me to a conference room with a long table and a one-way mirror. A recording device sat in the center. Relax, she said, seeing my face. You're not in trouble. We just need everything documented properly. I placed the folder on the table. She opened it and nodded. Patricia Wu already sent us copies, but we need to establish chain of custody. Tell me exactly how you received these files. I walked her through everything. The email at 3 a.m., the spam folder, the files, Veronica's last line, deleting everything. Agent Torres took notes, occasionally stopping me to ask clarifying questions. And you haven't told anyone else about this? Besides Patricia Wu? No one. Good. Keep it that way. Bryant Richmond doesn't know we're investigating yet. If he finds out, he'll start destroying evidence. She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. Do you recognize this man? I did. Eugene Foster, the company's CFO. Balding, mid-50s, always wore expensive suits. That's our chief financial officer. He's Bryant's college roommate. They've been running this scheme together for 4 years. We've been building a case for 6 months, but we couldn't prove the connection between the fake vendors and their personal accounts. Your automated system did in 3 hours what our forensic accountants couldn't do in half a year. So what happens now? Now you go back to work and act normal. Thursday's meeting is when Bryant plans to announce a corporate restructuring. He's going to blame budget shortfalls on market conditions. Use it as cover to cut staff and departments, including eliminating positions that might audit too closely. My position, probably. Don't worry. We'll have warrants executed before he can fire anyone. In the meantime, I need you to keep your eyes open. If you see Bryant or Eugene Foster or Diane accessing financial systems, acting strange, having private meetings, I need to know immediately. You think Diane's involved? We know she is. The question is whether she's complicit or coerced. Her signatures are on every fraudulent approval, but there's evidence Bryant was blackmailing her. We found emails suggesting he had information about her son. I didn't know Diane had a son. Most people don't. He's 24. Got arrested for drug possession 5 years ago. Bryant made it go away. Since then, Diane's been signing whatever he puts in front of her. I thought about Diane's tired face that morning, the coffee in both hands, the way she'd said, "Everything's fine," like she was trying to convince herself. Agent Torres stood. "My card has my direct line. Call anytime, day or night. If you feel unsafe, call. If you notice anything suspicious, call. If Bryant Richmond looks at you wrong, call. Understand?" I took the card. "What about Veronica? Is she safe?" "Veronica Hutchins is cooperating with our investigation. That's all I can say." I drove back to the office in a daze. My dental emergency had taken 2 hours. The office was busy when I returned. People rushing between cubicles, meetings in every conference room. The kid who'd replaced Veronica stopped me. "Hey, Diane's looking for you." She seemed stressed. Diane's office door was closed. I knocked. "Come in." She was standing at her window looking down at the street. "How was the dentist?" "Fine, root canal." She turned. Her eyes were red. "I need to talk to you about Thursday's meeting." "Okay." "Bryant's making changes. Big changes. I don't have all the details yet, but I wanted to give you a heads up. Your position is safe. In fact, you're being promoted again." "Again?" "Director of Analytics. Big raise. Corner office. You'd be reporting directly to Bryant." It was a trap. Keep me close. Keep me quiet. Make me complicit. "That's incredible. Thank you." "There's a catch." Diane sat down heavily. "The role requires signing off on all financial reports. You'd be responsible for verifying budget accuracy across all departments. It's a lot of responsibility. I can handle it." She looked at me like she wanted to say something else, like she wanted to warn me. Instead, she just nodded. "Meetings at 10 a.m. Thursday, conference room A. Don't be late." That night, I called Agent Torres. "They're trying to promote me, Director of Analytics. They want me signing financial reports." "Perfect. Accept the position. But don't sign anything until after Thursday. We're executing warrants at 9 a.m., right before the meeting. And if something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. We've been planning this for months. Bryant and Eugene will be in handcuffs before they finish their morning coffee." Wednesday dragged. I trained the new analyst, ran reports, attended meetings, normal things. But I felt like I was moving through water. Everything took effort. Every conversation felt forced. I left at 5 p.m., drove home, and sat in my apartment staring at the walls. My phone buzzed. It was my dad. "Hey, kiddo. Haven't heard from you in a week. Everything okay?" "Yeah, just busy at work. Got promoted." "Again? What is that, twice in 2 months?" "Something like that." "Your mother's worried you're working too hard. Burning out like that friend of yours." "What was her name?" "Victoria?" "Veronica. And she wasn't my friend." "Right. Well, take care of yourself. Come visit this weekend if you can." "Maybe." After we hung up, I looked up Veronica on social media. Her accounts were gone. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. All deleted or deactivated. The woman who'd worked 60-hour weeks and documented every moment of her life had erased herself completely. I wondered if the FBI had made her do it or if she'd done it herself. If she was relieved or terrified or both. At midnight, I got a text from an unknown number. Just 4 words. "Don't go tomorrow." I called Agent Torres immediately. "Someone just warned me not to go to the meeting." "What's the number?" I read it off. She was silent for a moment. "That's Veronica's burner phone. She's not supposed to be contacting you. Should I listen to her?" "No. We need you there. Veronica's being paranoid. She thinks Bryant's planning something bigger than a corporate restructuring. But we've had surveillance on him for weeks. He's just planning to announce layoffs and blame the economy. But what if she's right? She's not. Get some sleep. Tomorrow this will all be over." I didn't sleep. I sat on my couch, watching headlights pass across my ceiling. At 5 a.m., I went for another run. 8 miles again, pushing harder. At 7 a.m., I showered and dressed in my best suit. If I was going to watch my CEO get arrested, I wanted to look professional. The office was crowded when I arrived at 8:30. Everyone had gotten the memo about the all-hands meeting. People clustered in break rooms, speculating about what Bryant would announce. Layoffs probably, budget cuts, maybe a merger. No one suspected embezzlement. At 8:55, I went to conference room A. It was the largest meeting space we had, with a wall of windows overlooking downtown. 50 chairs arranged in rows, a podium at the front, a projector screen. Diane was already there, standing in the corner. She looked worse than yesterday. Makeup couldn't hide the dark circles. Her hands shook as she adjusted her blazer. "Big day," I said. She just nodded. People filed in. Department heads, senior managers, key analysts. Everyone Bryant would need to sell his restructuring plan. Eugene Foster arrived at 9:05, looking relaxed. He shook hands, made small talk, laughed at someone's joke. No sign of guilt or fear. At 9:10, Bryant Richmond walked in. He wore his best suit, the charcoal one he saved for board meetings. His hair was perfect. His smile was confident. He moved to the podium and adjusted the microphone. "Thanks for coming on short notice. I know you're all wondering what this is about. The truth is, we're facing some challenges. Market conditions have been tough, revenues down across several key divisions, and that means we need to make some difficult decisions about our organizational structure." The room tensed. This was the moment. Bryant was about to announce layoffs, and the FBI was about to burst through the door. Except they didn't. 9:15 came and went. Bryant kept talking, clicking through slides showing fabricated revenue losses and budget shortfalls. Eugene nodded along, adding comments about fiscal responsibility and necessary sacrifices. 9:20. Still nothing. I checked my phone under the table. No messages, no missed calls. I texted Agent Torres. "Where are you?" Bryant wrapped up his presentation. "So, effective immediately, we're eliminating 15 positions across all departments. HR will schedule individual meetings this afternoon. I know this is hard, but it's necessary for the company's survival. People started whispering. 15 positions. That was 10% of the staff. Diane's face had gone completely white. Bryant smiled. But it's not all bad news. We're also creating some new leadership roles. Our Director of Analytics position is being elevated to VP of Financial Operations, and I'm pleased to announce that promotion goes to, he paused for effect, our newest senior analyst, who's shown incredible initiative and efficiency. Everyone looked at me. Congratulations, Bryant said. This role comes with a significant raise and a seat at the executive table. Of course, it also comes with increased responsibility. You'll be overseeing all financial reporting, ensuring accuracy and compliance across the organization. I stood on shaking legs. Thank you. I'm honored. The paperwork's in my office. Stop by after this meeting and we'll make it official. The meeting ended at 9:35. Still no FBI. People filed out, some congratulating me, others looking shell-shocked about the layoffs. Diane disappeared immediately. Eugene Foster clapped me on the shoulder. Looking forward to working with you. I walked to Bryant's office. Every step felt wrong. Agent Torres had said 9 a.m. It was now 9:40. Something had happened. Something bad. Bryant's assistant waved me through. His office was massive, with a desk the size of my car and a wall of windows overlooking the city. He sat behind the desk, looking pleased with himself. A folder sat in front of him. Close the door. I closed it. Sit. I sat. Bryant opened the folder. Inside were documents. My documents. The ones I'd given to Patricia Wu. Let's talk about what you found. My mouth went dry. I'll be honest, I was impressed. Most people would have just deleted that email. But you did the right thing. You went to general counsel. You tried to protect the company. He leaned back. Problem is, Patricia Wu has been with this company for 23 years. She's loyal to me. Has been since I hired her. She's the one who called the FBI. She's the one who told me you'd called the FBI. Big difference. Bryant stood and walked to his window. Did you know Patricia's daughter works here? Nice girl. Marketing department. Just bought her first house. Would be a shame if something happened to her career. You're threatening her. I'm explaining reality. Patricia understands how things work. She made a call to the FBI yesterday afternoon, told them there was a misunderstanding, that you'd found some old files from a previous accounting system that flagged false positives, that everything's been resolved internally. They won't believe that. They already have. Without Patricia's cooperation, the FBI has no case. Just some suspicious documents from an anonymous email. Nothing admissible in court. Nothing they can use to get a warrant. I tried to stand. My legs wouldn't work. Bryant returned to his desk. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to accept this promotion. You're going to sign off on every report I put in front of you. And you're going to keep your mouth shut. Do that. And you'll have a very successful career here. Great salary, stock options, corner office. Everything Veronica could have had if she'd been smarter. And if I refuse, then you'll join Veronica on the unemployment line. Except you won't get the luxury of resigning quietly. I'll make sure everyone knows you fabricated evidence against the CEO, that you tried to destroy this company because you didn't get promoted fast enough. Your career in analytics will be over. You'll be lucky to get hired at a McDonald's. He pushed the folder toward me. Inside were employment contracts, VP of Financial Operations, $250,000 salary, stock options, benefits, everything I should want. Everything that would make me complicit in fraud. I need time to think about this. You have until 5 p.m. Sign the contracts and join the team, or pack your desk and leave forever. He smiled. I know what you'll choose. You're smart. That's why I promoted you. I left his office in a daze. The hallway seemed longer than before. The elevator took forever. Back at my desk, I sat staring at my computer screen. The automated scripts I'd written were still running, still flagging anomalies, still finding problems that no one would fix. My phone buzzed. Agent Torres. I'm so sorry. We got shut down this morning. Orders from above. Someone made a call. By the time we got to the field office, the case was closed. Bryant got to Patricia Wu. We suspected as much. Without her testimony and cooperation, we can't prove chain of custody on the documents. They could be fabricated, altered, anything. The U.S. attorney won't move forward without more evidence. What about Veronica? She's your witness. Veronica can testify to what she saw, but she can't testify to what Bryant did with the money. We need bank records, wire transfers, vendor contracts. Things only the company's legal counsel can subpoena. Things Patricia Wu could have gotten us. I leaned back in my chair. So Bryant wins. For now, keep the documents safe. Someday we might get another chance. I hung up and looked around the office. People working at desks, attending meetings, living their normal lives. None of them knew they worked for criminals. None of them knew Diane was being blackmailed. None of them knew Veronica had sacrificed everything to expose the truth. At 4:45 p.m., I walked back to Bryant's office. His assistant looked up. He's expecting you. Bryant was on the phone when I entered. He gestured for me to sit. Perfect. Yeah, she'll be great. Talk tomorrow. He hung up and smiled. So? I placed the unsigned contracts on his desk. I quit. His smile faded. Excuse me? I'm not signing. I'm not covering for you. I'm walking out of here today and never coming back. You realize what you're throwing away? I realize I'd rather be unemployed than be you. Bryant's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. A big one. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. I stood and walked out before he could respond. Back at my desk, I packed my personal items. Coffee mug, framed photo, a plant someone had given me. The kid who'd replaced Veronica watched nervously. Are you okay? Yeah, I just don't work here anymore. Did you get fired? No, I quit. But you just got promoted. Some promotions aren't worth taking. I carried my box to the elevator. In the lobby, I ran into Diane. She looked at my box, then at my face. You didn't sign. No. Bryant's going to destroy you. Probably. She grabbed my arm. Listen to me. I know what he's doing. I know everything, but I can't stop him. He has too much leverage. If I go against him, my son— She stopped, looking around nervously. I know about your son. The FBI told me. Her eyes widened. The FBI came to you? Yesterday. But Bryant got to Patricia before they could execute the warrants. Diane's grip tightened. Patricia sold us out? Her daughter works here. Bryant threatened her career. Of course he did. Diane released my arm and slumped against the wall. This is never going to end. He's always 3 steps ahead. Always has insurance. Always wins. He won't win forever. How can you be so sure? Because Veronica didn't give up. She spent 8 years gathering evidence. She knew she'd lose everything, but she did it anyway. That has to mean something. Diane was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out her phone and typed something. My phone buzzed. She'd texted me an address. That's a storage unit in Newark. Code is 2847. Inside, you'll find everything Veronica couldn't fit in one email. Years of documentation, backups of deleted files, physical evidence that links Bryant directly to the fraud. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm tired. I'm tired of being scared. I'm tired of covering for him. I'm tired of watching good people like you and Veronica get destroyed because they tried to do the right thing. She pushed away from the wall. I can't help you directly, but I can give you what you need to finish this. He'll know you gave it to me. I don't care anymore. Let him threaten me. Let him come after my son. Some things are worth fighting for. I left the building carrying my box, and the knowledge that this wasn't over, not even close. The storage unit was 40 minutes away in an industrial park off Route 21. The gate required a code, same as Diane had said. Unit 284 was in the back corner, a standard 10x10 with a rolling door and padlock. Inside were filing cabinets, 4 of them, packed with documents, bank statements, wire transfer records, vendor contracts, emails, handwritten notes. Everything organized by year, with labeled folders and color-coded tabs. Veronica's handwriting was everywhere, annotations in the margins, dates circled, connections drawn between entries. This was her life's work. 8 years of staying late, working 60-hour weeks, sacrificing relationships and health and happiness. Not because she was obsessed with work, but because she was building a case against the man who'd turned her workplace into a crime scene. I pulled out my phone and called Agent Torres. I have more evidence. A lot more. How much more? 4 filing cabinets full. Bank records, contracts, wire transfers, everything you need to prove Bryant and Eugene have been embezzling funds for 4 years. Where did you get this? Does it matter? She was quiet. Not really. Text me the address. I'll send a team right now. And Patricia Wu? We'll work around her. With this much evidence, we don't need her testimony. We can go straight to the U.S. attorney. I texted the address and sat on the floor of the storage unit, surrounded by years of Veronica's work. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It's me. Veronica's voice was hoarse, tired. Diane told me you quit. Yeah, that was stupid. You could have taken the money, kept your head down, had a nice comfortable life. So could you. She laughed, bitter. I tried. For 8 years I tried. Every time I got close to walking away, I'd find another discrepancy. Another fake vendor. Another stolen dollar. It became an obsession. I stopped sleeping. Stopped seeing friends. Stopped living. All because I couldn't let Bryant Richmond get away with it. Did you ever regret it? Every single day. But I'd do it again. Some things you can't ignore, even when ignoring them would be easier. The FBI's coming for the files. They'll reopen the case. I know. I've been waiting for this moment for 3 years. Ever since I realized the extent of what Bryant was doing. I wanted to expose him myself. Be the hero. Get the credit. But I wasn't brave enough. I just kept collecting evidence and hoping someone else would finish it. You sent me those files knowing I'd take them to the FBI. You were efficient, competent, not buried in the culture of fear Bryant had created. I thought maybe you'd be brave enough to do what I couldn't. You could have just gone to the FBI yourself. I tried. Twice. Both times, Patricia Wu shut it down before the investigation could start. Bryant's had her under his thumb for years, but you were new, clean, untainted. The FBI might actually listen to you. I heard sirens in the distance, getting closer. They're coming now. Good. Make sure they get everything. Don't let Bryant talk his way out of this. Don't let him threaten or bribe or manipulate. He's good at that, making people feel like they have no choice but to go along with him. I won't. And one more thing. When this is over, when Bryant's in prison and the company's been cleaned up, think about whether you really want to go back. Whether working for a place that let this happen for 4 years is worth your time. What are you going to do? Disappear. The FBI doesn't need me anymore. And I've spent enough of my life on Bryant Richmond. She paused. For what it's worth, you were a better analyst than I ever was. Your automated systems in 3 hours did what took me weeks. If I'd been smarter, less stubborn, maybe I could have had a life outside that office. You still can. Maybe. Thanks for finishing this. I really thought I'd be alone in it forever. She hung up. 3 FBI vans pulled into the storage facility parking lot. Agent Torres got out first, followed by a team with cameras, evidence bags, and official-looking clipboards. She saw me sitting on the floor and shook her head. You look terrible. I quit my job today. Best decision you ever made. She surveyed the filing cabinets. This is incredible. Veronica Hutchins really documented everything. She spent 8 years collecting it. 8 years is a long time to carry that burden. They spent 6 hours photographing, cataloging, and removing documents. I sat outside on the curb, watching the sun set over the industrial park. At some point, someone brought me coffee. At another point, Agent Torres sat next to me. We're executing warrants tomorrow morning. Bryant Richmond, Eugene Foster, and Patricia Wu. They'll all be in custody by noon. What about Diane? We'll talk to her. Based on what you've told me about her son, she might qualify for immunity if she cooperates. The U.S. attorney likes witnesses who can testify to coercion and blackmail. And me? You'll need to testify eventually. Give a deposition. Maybe appear at trial. But you're not in trouble. You did everything right. Doesn't feel like it. I'm unemployed. Brian's probably telling everyone in the industry that I'm unstable, dishonest, a liar. My career in analytics might be over. Your career in analytics at corrupt companies might be over. But there are plenty of places that would kill to hire someone with your skills and integrity, someone who automates processes, improves efficiency, and doesn't look the other way when they find evidence of crimes. You hiring? She smiled. FBI always needs good analysts. Think about it. They finished around midnight. Agent Torres drove me home. My apartment looked exactly as I'd left it that morning, but everything felt different. I was unemployed, probably unemployable in my field, and facing months of legal proceedings. But I'd done the right thing, or at least I'd tried. I slept for 12 hours. When I woke up, my phone had 43 messages, texts from coworkers asking what happened, emails from recruiters who'd somehow heard I was available, 3 voicemails from my parents asking why I'd quit such a good job, and 1 message from an unknown number. This is Diane. I've been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. They've seized my computer, my files, my phone records, everything. Bryant tried to throw me under the bus, but I told the FBI everything. About the blackmail, his threats against my son, the way he forced me to sign off on fraudulent expenses. I don't know what happens next, but I wanted to say thank you for not backing down, for not taking his deal, for giving me the courage to finally tell the truth. I saved the message. Over the next 2 weeks, everything came apart. Bryant Richmond was arrested at his home at 6 a.m. on federal embezzlement charges. Eugene Foster was arrested in his car outside a Starbucks. Patricia Wu was arrested in her office in front of her entire staff. The story hit the news that afternoon. Local stations, then national ones. Tech company CEO accused of $12 million fraud. The company itself went into chaos. The board fired the entire executive team. They brought in interim leadership from outside. They hired forensic accountants to trace every dollar Bryant and Eugene had stolen. The total ended up being $18.4 million over 4 years. Money that should have gone to employee salaries, product development, office improvements. Money that had instead bought Bryant a vacation home in Aspen and Eugene a boat he named Creative Accounting. Employees were furious. Some quit immediately. Others stayed, hoping the new leadership would fix things. The kid who'd replaced Veronica took over my old role as senior analyst. He automated even more processes, found even more discrepancies, helped the FBI build an airtight case. Diane Cooper agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. Her son's drug arrest had been expunged through legitimate legal channels, not through Bryant's connections. She'd been signing those documents under false pretenses, believing her son's future depended on her compliance. The U.S. attorney accepted her testimony. Patricia Wu fought the charges, claimed she didn't know about the fraud, that she'd only delayed the FBI investigation because she thought the evidence was insufficient. But emails recovered from her computer told a different story. She'd known about Bryant's scheme since 2021. She'd actively helped him cover it up, using her position as general counsel to block internal audits and external investigations. The trial started 8 months later. I testified on day 3, walked through my hiring, my relationship with Veronica, the expense report that started everything, the anonymous email, my decision to take the evidence to Patricia Wu. The defense attorney tried to paint me as a disgruntled employee who'd fabricated evidence out of jealousy, but the documents spoke for themselves. Thousands of pages of wire transfers, fake vendor invoices, altered spreadsheets. Veronica didn't testify. She'd moved to Montana and started working at a small accounting firm that specialized in nonprofit audits. She sent me a postcard once. Found work that actually helps people. Should have quit years ago. Hope you're doing okay. I was doing okay. After the trial, I got offers from 6 different companies. I took a position at a healthcare analytics firm that needed someone to overhaul their reporting systems. The work was challenging, the people were honest, and my boss left every day at 5:30 p.m. On my first day, she said, "We value efficiency here. If you're working late, you're doing something wrong." Bryant Richmond was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. Eugene Foster got 12, Patricia Wu got 7. The company survived, but never fully recovered. They eventually sold to a larger corporation that gutted the analytics department and moved operations overseas. I stayed in touch with Diane. She got a job at a nonprofit doing financial compliance. Said it was the first time in years she'd been able to sleep through the night. Her son graduated from community college and started working as an EMT. She was proud of him, proud of herself for finally standing up to Bryant. 2 years after everything happened, I got another email from Veronica. This time it wasn't anonymous. She used her real name, included her new work email, even attached a photo of her standing in front of a mountain. I saw Bryant's appeal was denied. He's going to serve his full sentence. I thought about going to see him in prison, maybe gloat a little, but it felt petty. He made his choices. He knew what he was doing. He just thought he was smarter than everyone else. That's always the fatal flaw with people like him. They think they're the only ones paying attention. Anyway, I wanted to tell you something I never got to say when we worked together. You were right about me. I did make that job my entire life. I stayed late because I didn't have anywhere else to go. Didn't have friends or hobbies or relationships. Just work and more work, and the obsessive need to catch Bryant in the act. It wasn't healthy. It wasn't sustainable. And it cost me almost a decade of my life. But it also taught me something. Sometimes the right thing to do is hard. Sometimes it costs everything. And sometimes the only person who can do it is you. Not because you're special or brave or uniquely qualified. Just because you're the one who's there, who notices, who cares enough to act. You were that person for me. I sent you those files hoping you'd have the courage I didn't. And you did. You walked into that FBI office, quit that job, lost everything you'd worked for, all because it was the right thing to do. That's rare. Hold on to that. I'm doing better now. I hike on weekends. I have friends. I even went on a date last month. It's strange having a life outside work. Still getting used to it, but it's good. Really good. Take care of yourself. And if you're ever in Montana, look me up. I'll buy you coffee and we can laugh about how we both used to think 60-hour work weeks were normal. Veronica. I replied that same day. Coffee sounds good. I'm owed some vacation time. Maybe this summer? She responded within an hour. It's a date. Fair warning though, Montana coffee isn't as good as the stuff in the city, but the views make up for it. I booked the trip 3 months later, flew into Bozeman, rented a car, and drove to the small town where Veronica lived. She met me at a coffee shop that overlooked a river. She looked different, relaxed. Her hair was longer, she wore hiking boots, and she smiled when she saw me. We talked for 4 hours, about the trial, about our new jobs, about what it felt like to rebuild our lives after everything fell apart. She told me about her hiking group, a book club she'd joined, a pottery class she was taking on Thursdays. I told her about my new company, my coworkers who actually went home at reasonable hours, my boss who encouraged work-life balance. Do you ever regret it? I asked, walking away from that career? You were talented. You could have been a CFO somewhere if you just kept your head down. She shook her head. I spent 8 years with my head down. 8 years pretending everything was fine while Bryant stole millions. If I'd kept going, I'd be dead by now. Heart attack, stroke, or just plain misery. This life, this boring, normal life with pottery classes and book clubs, is the best thing that ever happened to me, even though it cost you everything. Especially because it cost me everything. Turns out what I had wasn't worth keeping. We hiked that afternoon, 6 miles through mountain trails, talking about everything and nothing. She pointed out wildflowers, warned me about bears, laughed when I complained about the altitude. At the summit, we sat on a rock overlooking a valley. I need to tell you something, Veronica said. I knew what would happen when I sent you those files. I knew Bryant would come after you. I knew you'd probably lose your job. And I sent them anyway. I know. You're not angry? I was at first. For about a week after I quit, I was furious. At you, at Bryant, at the whole situation. But then I realized you'd given me a choice. You didn't force me to take those files to the FBI. You didn't make me quit. You just showed me the truth and let me decide what to do with it. She was quiet for a long time. I spent 8 years being angry. At Bryant, at Eugene, at Patricia, at everyone who let it happen. The anger kept me going, kept me digging for evidence, kept me working those late nights, but it also ate me alive from the inside. I don't want to be angry anymore. So what do you want? Peace. Boring, ordinary peace. We watched the sun set over the mountains. The sky turned orange, then pink, then deep purple. Somewhere in the distance, an elk called out. The valley filled with shadows. Veronica pulled out her phone and took a photo. For my hiking group, she explained. They'll want to see where I took my famous guest. Famous? The woman who took down Bryant Richmond? You're kind of a legend in certain circles. Forensic accounting forums, corporate ethics seminars, FBI training sessions. They use your case as an example of proper whistleblower procedures. That's horrifying. That's justice. She stood and stretched. Come on, we should head back before it gets dark. I'll make us dinner. Nothing fancy, just pasta. But I promise it's better than anything you ate during those 60-hour work weeks. She was right. The pasta was good. The conversation was better. We stayed up until midnight, drinking wine on her porch, watching stars appear over the mountains. She told me stories about her new life, her co-workers at the nonprofit, the small-town drama that seemed absurd after corporate fraud and federal investigations. Do you ever miss it? I asked. The big city? The important job? The feeling of doing something that matters? Every day. But then I remember what it cost. The relationships I didn't have, the hobbies I didn't pursue, the life I didn't live, and I realized this is better. This small, quiet life where the biggest scandal is Mrs. Henderson accusing Mr. Patterson of stealing her prized tomatoes. I flew home the next morning, back to my own small, quiet life. My job that ended at 5:30, my coworkers who had hobbies, my boss who encouraged vacation time. It wasn't prestigious or glamorous, but it was honest. And after everything, honest felt like enough. 3 years passed. Bryant served his time without incident. Model prisoner, apparently. Eugene got out early for good behavior and moved to Florida. Patricia lost her law license and ended up working as a paralegal for a personal injury firm. Diane stayed at the nonprofit, eventually becoming their CFO. Her son became a paramedic supervisor. The company we'd all worked for went through 3 more CEOs before finally stabilizing. They implemented new oversight procedures, independent audits, whistleblower protections. Too late for Veronica and me, but maybe it would help someone else. I got promoted twice. Not to vice president or director or any title that came with corner offices and stock options, just senior healthcare analytics manager. It was enough. My phone rang one afternoon. Unknown number. For a second, my heart jumped, remembering all those calls during the investigation. But this was different. This was closure. This is Special Agent Rachel Torres. I wanted to let you know the last of the appeals was denied today. Bryant Richmond's conviction is final. He'll serve his full sentence, all 15 years. No parole, no time off. It's over. Thank you for calling. No, thank you. Cases like this only work when people like you are willing to come forward. Most people aren't. Most people take the promotion, sign the papers, keep their heads down. You didn't. That matters. After she hung up, I sat at my desk for a long time. The office buzzed around me. People working, laughing, complaining about normal things like traffic and deadlines and whose turn it was to clean the break room. Normal office life. Nothing dramatic. Nothing corrupt. I thought about Veronica in Montana, hiking on weekends and taking pottery classes. I thought about Diane at her nonprofit, sleeping through the night for the first time in years. I thought about that kid who'd replaced Veronica, now running the analytics department at some other company. All of us scattered, rebuilding, moving forward. My phone buzzed. Text from Veronica. Torres called me too. It's really over. Hard to believe after all this time. What are you going to do to celebrate? I texted back. Probably nothing. Maybe make a nice dinner. Go for a hike. Normal things. Normal sounds good. Yeah, it really does. I finished my work at 5:30, shut down my computer, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door. My coworker called out, "Leaving already?" "Yeah, got things to do." "Must be nice." I smiled. It really is. The evening was warm. I drove home with the windows down, radio playing something I didn't recognize. My apartment was quiet when I arrived. No crisis, no emergencies, just dinner to make and a book to read and the comfortable, ordinary life I'd built after everything fell apart. I thought about sending Veronica another message, maybe suggesting another visit to Montana, maybe inviting her here instead, but I didn't. Some relationships exist perfectly in the space between major life events, bookends to chapters that needed closing. Instead, I made dinner, pasta like Veronica had made for me. Nothing fancy. I ate on my couch, watching a documentary about something unrelated to corporate fraud. My phone stayed silent. The evening stretched out, peaceful and unremarkable. Around 10 p.m., I got one more text. Unknown number, but I knew who it was. "Remember when you asked if I regretted it? Walking away from that career?" Yeah, I lied. I don't regret it every day. Most days I'm grateful. Grateful I got out. Grateful you finished what I started. Grateful Bryant's in prison and we're not. But some days I do wonder what life would have been like if I'd just taken that promotion 8 years ago. If I'd looked the other way. If I'd been a little less stubborn and a little more practical. And then I remember I wouldn't be me if I'd done that. I'd be someone else. Someone who could live with corruption and fraud and stolen money. Someone who valued career over conscience. And I don't want to be that person, even if that person would have had an easier life. Me neither. Good. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's Friday. You're probably one of those people who actually leaves at 5 WIG on Fridays. On the dot. Good. Stay that way. The text stopped. I put my phone down and looked around my apartment. Small kitchen, decent living room, bedroom with windows facing east. Nothing impressive. Nothing that screamed success or achievement or corner office ambitions. Just a normal place for a normal life. But it was mine. Earned honestly. Built on foundations that wouldn't collapse under federal investigation. And after everything, that felt like the biggest success of all. I went to bed at a reasonable hour. Slept soundly. Woke up the next morning without anxiety or fear or the weight of secrets I couldn't share. Made coffee, got ready for work. Normal Friday things. At the office, my boss stopped by my desk. "Good work this week. You finished that hospital data analysis 3 days early." "Just efficient," she smiled. "That's why we hired you. Keep it up." I worked until 4:45. Could have stayed until 5 or here, but the sun was shining and I had plans to meet friends for dinner. Real friends. People I'd met outside of work. People who had no idea I'd once been involved in a federal fraud investigation. As I packed up my desk, I thought about that first day 6 months ago when I'd walked into that office. How I'd come in at 9:00 and left at 5, like a normal person with a normal job. How Veronica had hated me for it. How Bryant had tried to buy me. How Diane had been too scared to stop him. All of them trapped by their own choices, their own compromises, their own willingness to trade integrity for security. I'd almost joined them. Almost taken that promotion. Almost signed those papers. But something Veronica had said stuck with me, even before I knew who she really was. Maybe the job wouldn't have been everything if you'd actually gone home sometimes. She'd been talking about herself, about 8 years of sacrificing everything for a career that was built on lies. About finally understanding that work was just work, and life was what happened when you clocked out at 5 out and actually went home. I drove to dinner with the radio playing, met my friends at a restaurant that had nothing to do with expense reports or analytics or corporate fraud. We talked about movies and travel plans and someone's new relationship. Normal conversations, nothing dramatic. Around 9:00, my phone buzzed. Email from a recruiter. Senior Director of Analytics position, Fortune 500 company, competitive salary and benefits package. I deleted it without responding. My friend noticed. Work email? Job offer. Not interested? I like where I am. She raised her glass. To liking where you are. Underrated life goal. We clinked glasses. I drank and thought about Veronica in Montana, probably on a hike right now. Phone turned off, completely disconnected from the corporate world that had consumed 8 years of her life. I thought about Diane at her nonprofit, going home at a reasonable hour to have dinner with her son. I thought about all the people who'd been caught in Bryant's web, now scattered across the country, rebuilding their lives on foundations that wouldn't crumble. The next morning, Saturday, I slept until 9 o'clock, made breakfast, went for a run, did laundry, read a book. All the boring, ordinary things that fill a boring, ordinary life. And somewhere between folding sheets and making lunch, I realized I was happy. Not triumphant, not vindicated, not celebrating some great victory. Just happy, content, satisfied with choices that had cost me a promotion and a career trajectory, and whatever success looked like in Bryant Richmond's world. My phone rang. I almost didn't answer, but I recognized the Montana area code. "Hey," Veronica said. "You busy?" "Just doing laundry. You?" "Same. Isn't adult life glamorous?" We talked for an hour. About nothing important. About her pottery class and my running route and whether sourdough bread was worth the effort. Normal friend conversation. No fraud, no FBI, no prison sentences. Before we hung up, she said, "I'm glad you quit that day. I know it was hard. I know you lost a lot, but I'm glad you did it." "Me too." "Good. Now go finish your laundry. I'll call you next week." She did. And the week after that, and the month after that. Not constantly, not obsessively, just occasionally. Two people who'd survived the same crisis, staying connected through the quiet aftermath. 5 years passed. Bryant served his time, got released, moved to a small town somewhere in the Midwest, reportedly working at a car dealership. Eugene started a blog about business ethics. Patricia Wu wrote a book about her experience, painting herself as another victim of Bryant's manipulation. The reviews were mixed. Diane retired from the nonprofit and moved to a cabin upstate with her son and his new wife. She sent me a Christmas card every year with a photo of the three of them, always smiling, always looking genuinely happy. I stayed at the healthcare analytics firm, got promoted to senior manager, then associate director, led a team of 6 analysts, taught them about automation and efficiency and the importance of leaving at 5 seconds. Some of them listened, some of them didn't. But it wasn't my job to save them, just to show them there was another way. Veronica stayed in Montana, made partner at her nonprofit firm, started a consulting business on the side, helping other organizations implement financial controls. She never worked past 6 o'clock, never checked email on weekends, never sacrificed her hiking schedule for client meetings. We met up once a year. Sometimes I flew to Montana, sometimes she flew to me. We'd spend a weekend hiking or exploring the city or just sitting around talking about our boring, ordinary lives. And every time as we said goodbye, one of us would mention how strange it was that we'd once been the people who'd taken down a CEO. Seems like a different lifetime, Veronica said during our last visit. It was, I agreed. Do you ever tell people about what happened? Sometimes, if it's relevant. But mostly I don't. It's not who I am anymore. Me neither. I'm just the woman who hikes on Saturdays and takes pottery classes on Thursdays. The Bryant Richmond thing is just something that happened once, not the defining moment of my life. What is? She thought about it. Probably the moment I decided to keep living after it was over, to build something new instead of dwelling on what I'd lost. That's the moment that actually mattered. I understood exactly what she meant. 10 years after everything happened, I got an email from the FBI. Agent Torres had retired. She was writing a book about her career and wanted to include our case as a chapter. Would I be willing to be interviewed? I said yes. We met at a coffee shop in the city, same one where Veronica and I sometimes met up. Agent Torres looked older, grayer, but still sharp. You know what I remember most about your case? She said. Not the money or the arrests or even the convictions. I remember how you walked out of that office with a cardboard box, knowing your career was probably over, but doing it anyway because it was the right thing to do. That's rare. It didn't feel rare. It felt inevitable. That's what makes it rare. Most people rationalize. They convince themselves it's not their problem or that someone else will handle it or that they need to look out for themselves first. You didn't do any of that. You just did what needed to be done. Veronica did all the hard work. I just finished it. Veronica collected evidence. You acted on it. Both were necessary. Both took courage. She pulled out a recording device. So, ready to tell the story one more time? I told her everything. The whole story. From Veronica's first passive-aggressive comment about my 5 tower departures to that final text from Montana about pottery classes and boring Saturdays. Agent Torres took notes, asked clarifying questions, made sure she had every detail right. When we finished, she turned off the recorder. One last question, off the record. If you could go back and do it differently, would you? I didn't have to think about it. No, not even for the career you could have had? The money? The success? Especially not for those things. Success that requires compromising your integrity isn't success. It's just expensive misery. She smiled. That's going in the book. The book came out 2 years later. Corporate Crimes and the People Who Stopped Them. Our case was Chapter 7. Agent Torres changed our names but kept the essential story intact. The woman who spent 8 years collecting evidence. The new analyst who automated systems and uncovered the fraud. The CEO who thought he was untouchable. The general counsel who valued her daughter's career over the truth. I bought 3 copies, kept one for myself, sent one to Veronica, sent one to Diane. Veronica called when she received hers. Did you read the dedication? I hadn't. I flipped to the front. To all the analysts who leave at 5 ER and get the job done anyway. We laughed. That same tired, relieved laugh we'd shared in that storage unit all those years ago. The laugh of people who'd survived something that should have destroyed them. We should celebrate, Veronica said. Big reunion. You, me, Diane, maybe even that kid who replaced, what was his name? Timothy. Right, Timothy. We'll get together, drink wine, toast to boring lives and reasonable work hours. We did. 3 months later, met at a restaurant halfway between Montana and the city. Diane drove up from her cabin. Timothy flew in from Seattle, where he now ran analytics for a hospital system. Agent Torres even showed up, bringing copies of her book for everyone to sign. We spent the evening telling stories, laughing about Veronica's 60-hour weeks and my automated scripts and Bryant's shocked face when the FBI finally executed those warrants. We talked about where we were now, what we'd built from the ashes of that corporate disaster. Diane raised her glass. To doing the right thing, even when it costs everything. To doing the right thing, we echoed. And to leaving at 5 CRE, Veronica added. On the dot, I finished. We clinked glasses. The wine was good. The company was better. And somewhere in federal prison, Bryant Richmond was probably thinking about the analyst who'd automated his systems, and the coworker who'd spent 8 years gathering evidence, and the moment when his carefully constructed empire had finally collapsed. But we weren't thinking about him. We were thinking about the lives we'd built, the choices we'd made, the boring, ordinary existence that felt extraordinary after everything we'd survived. The evening ended around 10 nines. We said our goodbyes, promised to stay in touch, made vague plans to do this again next year. I drove home with the radio playing, thinking about how strange it was that one email at 3 a.m. had changed everything. Or maybe it hadn't changed anything. Maybe I'd always been the person who would walk away from a corrupt promotion. Maybe Veronica had always been the person who would spend 8 years collecting evidence. Maybe Diane had always been the person who would eventually find her courage. We just needed the right moment, the right push, the right circumstances to become who we actually were. I got home around midnight. My apartment was dark, quiet, exactly as I'd left it. No crises, No emergencies, no emails from whistleblowers or calls from FBI agents, just a normal apartment for a normal person living a normal life. I made tea and sat on my couch, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there were other Veronicas, other analysts, other people trapped in jobs that required them to compromise their values for a paycheck. Some of them would find the courage to walk away, some of them wouldn't. And that was okay. Everyone's path was different. But for those who were considering it, who were standing at that same crossroads where I'd stood 12 years ago, I hoped they remembered one thing. Leaving at 5 isn't lazy. Working efficiently isn't cutting corners. And sometimes the best career move you can make is walking away from a promotion that requires you to become someone you don't want to be. My phone buzzed one last time. Text from Veronica. Thanks for tonight. Needed the reminder that it was all worth it. It was, I texted back. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's Monday. Normal work week ahead. On it. You too. Already in bed. Lights off. Alarm set for 6:30 so I can go for a run before work. 6:30? Yeah, but I'll be done by 5 on the dot. Good. I put my phone down and looked around my small, ordinary apartment one more time. Thought about everything that had led me here. The automated scripts, the expense reports, the email at 3 a.m., the storage unit full of evidence, the decision to quit instead of compromising. All of it leading to this moment. This quiet, unremarkable moment where I was exactly where I needed to be, living exactly the life I wanted to live. I finished my tea, brushed my teeth, got into bed at a reasonable hour, set my alarm for 7 a.m. because I'd learned from Veronica that starting early didn't mean you had to stay late. It just meant you valued your time enough to use it efficiently. The last thing I thought before falling asleep was how grateful I was for that first day 6 months into my job when I'd left at 5 on the dot and Veronica had made her passive-aggressive comment about people who actually cared about their careers. Because if she hadn't said that, I might never have automated those expense reports. If I hadn't automated the reports, I might never have flagged those discrepancies. If I hadn't flagged the discrepancies, Veronica might never have sent me those files. And if she hadn't sent those files, Bryant Richmond might still be embezzling millions while everyone around him worked 60-hour weeks and convinced themselves it was normal. But she did say it. And I did automate the reports. And she did send the files. And eventually, inevitably, the whole corrupt system collapsed under the weight of its own dishonesty. Not because we were heroes, not because we were brave, just because we were two people who valued efficiency, honesty, and leaving at 5 more than we valued promotions built on lies. And in the end, that was enough.